Take a look into their eyes, and you will see the pregame intensity that comes before the marquee matchup of the college lacrosse season. Virginia and Maryland, longtime rivals in a rematch of the national championship game, plus all the emotion of number 1 against number 2 on Big Ten Network. A monumental sports day set to unfold in Washington, D.C. This afternoon, the two-time defending national champions, the Virginia Cavaliers, set foot into the nation's capital to face the Maryland Terrapins for lacrosse on Big Ten Network. When you review the USILA rankings, you can tell why we're so fired up for this clash. The two teams that battled in the NCAA title game last spring, they're both off to great starts as the number 1 and number 2 ranked teams in the land. It is great to see you again. Along with Mark Dixon, I'm Joe Beninati. It's close to impossible for us to overhype this game today. The talent level is extraordinary. Mark, what are the reasons behind the rankings?
You're going to see why the hype has been present all week, all season long. Virginia and Maryland, physicality, athleticism, speed, and don't forget, we're going to see a lot of razzle-dazzle, some home run plays possibly today. It has been said all season long, it's Virginia, Maryland, and everyone else. I think we're about to see why.
Top 2 teams in the country, star-driven attackmen lead the way.
Connor Schellenberger, arguably the best player in the nation, really established that stamp last year in the national championship game, leading Virginia to their 2nd consecutive title. Logan Wisnauskas, his evolution has been astounding as a Maryland Terrapin. He has grown into the offensive leader of this hard-shell team.
For the most of the day today, it's been overcast skies, but the sun has been poking through just as the teams took the field for warm-ups. It is humid, temperatures in the upper 60s. The winds should not be a factor between these two squads, who both have netminders that are underclassmen. Both have climbed their ladders quickly. Matt Nunes wasting no time getting the number 1 job in Charlottesville.
A year ago, Nunes was stopping high school shots, and now he's on the biggest stage thus far in the 2022 season. No easy task when you consider the guy he replaced was one of the leaders of their national championship teams.
He'll be staring down at the other end of the field. Logan McNaney for the Terrapins, a left-hander who, when he gets in a good groove, Mark, he's tough to beat.
So efficient, so fundamentally sound, and much to your delight, Joe, he has an amazing shooting touch, as we saw last year. McNaney is the backbone of this tough Maryland defense.
Well, you'll be seeing some 10-man rides, so he may uncork another one today. It's the Terps and the Cavaliers, fabulous bench bosses for these two respective teams. Lars Tiffany knows what this game is all about. He's already said it's like a bowl game.
Yeah, and he referenced Virginia's football program many times in his preparation for this game. He's like, it's like preparing for a bowl game.
A pair of 6-0 squads. John Tillman knows that it's early, but his team is on the marquee against the 2-time national champs.
And this game is important for both teams, but maybe more important for Maryland, who's come up short the last couple of tries against the Cavaliers.
A veteran officiating crew, Brian Abbott, Jason Parks, Hans Wittelsberger. They'll be in the zebra stripes as Maryland meets Virginia. All-time meeting number 94 between these two schools. Weirman wins the draw. Right to the goal comes Kahn. Rolling back, bouncer, he scores! Keegan Kahn, 8 seconds into the contest.
What a start for the Maryland Terrapins, and if there's one Terp who's going to have a bug up his nose for this game, it's Luke Weirman, who last year had that final shot against Virginia, and it was saved to prevent overtime. Instead of going down the heart of the Virginia defense, however, he gets over to Keegan Kahn. I love how Kahn stops on a dime, comes back to his right, gets space, and slips it past Nunes.
6 on the season now for Kahn, who's been playing through a bit of an injury. He had a couple of assists against Albany. The Terps thrashed the Great Danes indoors last weekend. Off the violation, they get another possession. Maryland in the white, Virginia in the blue. Kyle Long is the 3rd leading scorer for the Terps. He's playing catch with Anthony DeMeo, who has tallies in 4 of his last 6. Picked up on the perimeter by Peel. Bouncer goes on the way that hit the defender there. Sostad ricochets. Sharp angle bid from Molliver that didn't get through, and taken up off the natural grass by Scott Bauer.
On that last sequence, both those shots, you're seeing the length of this Virginia defense. Both of their albatross-like arms with the sticks preventing those shots from getting on cage.
Xander Dixon sweeping across the top, lets it fly. He missed it there. Ball backed up on the end line, belongs to Virginia. Keegan Kahn has the Terps in the white jerseys on top by one. Lacrosse on Big Ten Network. Joe Beninati, Mark Dixon. So glad you've tuned in there with us. One of the finest players in the land, Matt Moore, is 5 in the blue.
Being guarded by Brent Makar, Ajax Zapatello has Schellenberger.
That is an all-American matchup here. Moore against Makar on the hesitation. 40 seconds left in the shot clock for Virginia on its first offensive trip. Higgins defending against Dixon, and it's snuffed out by McNaney. Short in stature, but when attackers threaten from behind, he is very good at putting a stuff to them.
We talked about the fundamentals of McNaney. As Dixon came around the cage, he hugged the pipe. So many times we see goaltenders step off the pipe.
McNaney with another rejection. Starting off strongly in goal for Maryland as Matt Rahill starts the clear. Makar, the senior from upstate New York.
There's no guessing with McNaney between the pipes. And Nunes, from what I've seen of him thus far early in his career, he's very similar. So we're going to be treated to some very good, very fundamental goaltending in this one.
Short stick D-mid, Roman Puglisi will yield the ball to Jack Corus. This second midfield unit for Maryland has been very effective. Murphy, Corus, and Brennan.
And they have to be. You got to win. You got to have two midfields to be successful.
Curling off the top, Nunes makes a fine save there on Corus.
Another nice fundamental save. Steps out toward the shooter and uses his body when his stick was beaten.
Virginia defensively, some good news and some bad as Cole Kastner brings it ahead. Kastner going right to the cooker. Schellenberger has it in his cross. Ben Weyer not able to play today, but Cade Sostad, their captain on D, is available at close defense.
Look at that save by Nunes. Gets down low, tracks the ball, stays in position. Virginia offsides, gives the ball back to Maryland. But you're right, Joe. Huge shot in the arm with some of the returners, Sostad in particular, for Virginia. And Ware's been out for a couple of weeks now, so his understudies have performed very well.
Little give and go, looking for DeMeo. Down on the grass and taken up off of the turf by Quinton Matsui. Kastner, the reigning ACC Defensive Player of the Week. Might as well mint him for that week after week.
Anytime you can put in the performance that he turned in against Chris Gray from the University of North Carolina a week ago, you're going to get that type of publicity, that type of accolades.
Zinn, who can run all day, defended by Donville. One of the impressive transfers who's come to town for Maryland this season. This is the inaugural Capital Classic Lacrosse Tournament, a triple header. This is the middle of 3 games. Zinn on the ISO.
An interesting matchup. Zinn's primarily a defensive midi, and Donville an offensive midi. Zinn was unable to capitalize on that matchup. We'll see if they switch during this settled situation. It looks like Virginia's electing to make Donville play some defense and keep him in that side of the field.
Moore, who has goals in 16 straight. 27 seconds left in the shot clock against Makar. Moore's jump shot off the question mark there. Missed it on the short side. Still Virginia ball with 22 seconds to shoot.
Donville's trying to get out of there. He tried to get out of there on that last shot off the end line.
Bubba Fairman, who's playing defensive short stick midfield this season. Tangling with Jeff Connor.
Good switch right there. Donville got matched up on Matt Moore.
4 seconds to shoot for Moore. Feed it inside. And it's just snapped wide by Xander Dixon. 2 seconds on the shot clock. McNaney anticipated that beautifully, and he picked it off, leaving his goal crease.
Outstanding defensive series for Maryland. Hats off to John Geppert, the long stick midfielder. Recognized that Donville had been cycled on to Matt Moore. That is a matchup nightmare. He smartly switched the matchup and was able to make some plays.
Rahill launching this one down against that 10-man ride, connecting with Molliver. The Atlanta, Georgia native will set up shop for Maryland. As we're nearing the 6-minute mark of the opening quarter, Keegan Khan, the only tally, 8 seconds into the opening frame.
Both these teams, after that initial goal, aren't really feeling each other out, Joe. They're being aggressive offensively. They're showing why they're the number 1 and 2 teams in the nation.
Molliver working around the screen set by Murphy, the transfer from Johns Hopkins. Brennan to the alley. Kick it to Murphy, who likes to be inverted. Midfielder attacking from behind the net. Quick pass, the cut, and the put away. Chorus makes it 2-0.
Second shot for Chorus in this spot. And on the second opportunity, he finds pay dirt. Why? He changed the level of his shot. First time he cut, shot high to low. Nunes was all over it. This time, high to high, a quick redirection. Great recognition from Owen Murphy, finding the cutting course.
Chorus, we've addressed Maryland's thumping of Albany indoors last weekend by a 24-6 margin. Chorus had an assist in that one. Virginia was on the road, impressively knocking off North Carolina. Both of these teams at 6-0.
And not only is that a huge goal, because obviously it gives Maryland a 2-goal lead, but production out of your bench. In a game like this, you're going to need depth of scoring to secure a victory. Of course, one of the better cutting midfielders, not only in the Big Ten, but in the country.
These are the 2 highest scoring teams in the nation. And Mark, you often tell me the X factor is face-off work. Weirman against LaSala, a feature matchup today. DeMeo drawing a double. Looks cross. Nice passing. It's just snapped off the outside of the goal by Long.
Felt like Long rushed that shot.
Plenty of time in the shot clock. Molliver feeds. That gets away from DeMeo. Long keeps it hot. Wisnauskas snapped it off the outside of the goal. Logan Wisnauskas, the primary threat for a Maryland team that has scored better than 20 goals 3 times already this season.
And they're not doing it against subpar competition. This Maryland team plays as ambitious a schedule as anyone in the country. Same you could say about Virginia. Both of these teams, it's only the middle of March. They're both 6-0, but both have already been battle-tested thus far in 2022.
Subs coming in off the bench for Lars Tiffany. This is Patrick McIntosh. So many of these Cavaliers, Mark, are comfortable whether they're playing midfield or attack.
It's the trend in college lacrosse. Positionless offense. If you can put the ball in the net, if you can beat your man, if you can create a slide, you're going to see the field.
Matt Moore against Makar. Makar keeping him at stick's length. McDaney shuffles over there nicely to clean that one up. His 4th stop on the day.
So far, Maryland, they're winning their individual matchups. Virginia has not been able really to win an individual matchup, and they're trying. Therefore, their ball movement is suffering a little bit, the sharing of the ball. Maryland, meanwhile, is relying on that ball movement, and we've seen 2 goals off of assists. Granted, one was off of a face-off, but that extra pass or that pass is finding guys open.
He's Mark Dixon. I'm Joe Beninati. Goals from Kahn and Chorus have given Maryland in the white jerseys the lead. 6.5 to go in the opening quarter. Murphy on the rollback lost his footing. Feed to the interior. That's snared by Nunes. John Tillman, the head coach for Maryland, was telling us earlier in the week he had the guys get their cleats ready. This is the first time they're playing on natural grass all season.
Excellent point. Virginia, home stadium is Klockner. They play on the grass regularly. It does make a difference, especially in the first couple of minutes, but I think Maryland looks fast. They look like they've acclimated to it. And it's a big deal that they're winning their individual matchups. Remember the national championship game, Connor Schellenberger started the party by beating Nick Grill, an All-American, an all-conference selection. Zapatello has not let him do that just yet.
The freshman shuts, kicks it back behind the cage. Schellenberger, who is the NCAA tournament most outstanding player a season ago. Virginia toppled Maryland in a thriller, 17-16 in Connecticut to win it for the 2nd time in succession. Moore drawing a double. Keeps it hot. Schellenberger picked up by Zapatello. Moore slicing in, fires to score! Matt Moore.
An opportunistic goal for Matt Moore. Good team defense by Maryland. They get the ball on the carpet, but unfortunately for the Terps, it's to no man's land. Moore picks it up, slips in between the defense, sticks it past McNaney, and Virginia's on the board.
Lacrosse. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Maryland and Virginia, the Terps on top. They had the first two tallies. Then Matt Moore responds.
And that's what big-time players do. Again, this was good defense by Maryland. They get the double team. They get the ball on the ground. Just no one could get to that ground ball quicker than number 5 in the blue and orange. And he does a great job of just slipping in between that Maryland defense and sliding it home.
Weirman wins another draw. Weirman going right to the cage. Trail check there neatly by Connor. Bauer comes up with the ground ball for Virginia.
Wing play is so critical, especially with the loose ball scrums that you get. Great job by Connor to take away that opportunity from Weirman.
Audi Field in Washington, D.C. It's the venue. Joe Beninati and Mark Dixon with you. Lacrosse on Big Ten Network. Two teams that used to be conference rivals who don't get a chance to play each other all that often now during the regular season.
First time since 2014 these teams have tangled.
Connor fires. McNaney has been super strong. In goal for the Terps at the outset. Running to the end line and earning possession for Maryland.
Think about the history of this series. You have the 7 overtime game that you called a while ago. The Thermal Bowl, the national championship game in 2011 at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, where the field temperature was 125 degrees. The 2019 quarterfinals, the goal, no goal off of the crossbar. Such a rich history, and wacky things happen when these teams get together.
Makar taking the long distance shot. Lars Tiffany said that Virginia would apply its 10-man ride, and they've been doing it routinely here in the opening quarter, which has 4 minutes left in it. Kahn scrambling on the end line with Sostad.
Gigantic big boy ground ball pick up by Keegan Kahn, and John Tillman calls timeout to preserve possession. Look at this. This is a big boy battle between two excellent athletes, and a great timeout call because Kahn was then checked and the ball went out of bounds. Great hustle. Every inch of the field being contested.
Terps have gone cold for the last 5 minutes after the chorus goal. A 2-1 Maryland advantage. John Tillman getting his guys into the classroom. The team that goes through its offensive progressions with incredible precision as we get to our State of Success this afternoon, brought to you by State Farm.
And you're going to take a look at 3 of the last 4 championships in men's Division I lacrosse have either been the University of Maryland or the University of Virginia. The Terps ended a 4-decade-long drought by beating Ohio State in 2017, and then Virginia knocked off then defending champion Yale in 2019. And then how about the Classic a year ago in East Hartford, Connecticut, outlasting the Terps. A game that saw Virginia leading by 5 late. Maryland made a late charge, and then Luke Weirman had that opportunity to tie the game, coming right down the gut of the Virginia defense, but now the now graduated Alex Rode making the save.
All of that brought to you by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. There is the history at the bottom of the screen. 94th meeting. The first ever was in 1926. And Mark, you're talking about last year's championship game. Schellenberger, Wisnauskas shooting up a storm in that one.
Absolutely incredible. And it was a classic. And again, I think this game at this stage mentally is bigger for Maryland to beat Virginia. They've lost to that. They lost to them last year in that national championship game. They beat them in 2019 in the NCAA quarterfinals. But man, it would be sweet for them to get this W.
Kahn turns the corner. Kahn going to goal. Makes one extra step and scores. Keegan Kahn.
The wrath of Khan being felt here in D.C. This only happens when you are feeling it. Look at Keegan Khan get above goal line extended, and he draws 3 blue jerseys. You got to take body in that situation if you're Virginia. You just can't wave a stick at Keegan Khan, because once he got in front of the goal, it was just fake dunk. Khan is with the big boy ground ball. It's fitting that he gets the goal and pays off for that big boy ground ball.
Weirman tangling this time with Gable Braun. Braun is the understudy for Petey LaSala at the faceoff X for Virginia. Ground ball to the sideline. Geppert watches it go out of bounds. The officials will give Virginia possession into the cross of Will Corey, who's working in the second midfield for the Cavaliers today.
How about that hustle? Chasing the ball out of bounds, checking Geppert's stick just to make sure that he couldn't pick a ground ball up, and saves possession for his team. Will Corey, one of those guys, when we talked to Lars Tiffany this week, is just making a huge difference in an array of stars for this Cavalier lineup.
Simmons against Puglisi, move it to Moore. Moore off the face dodge, feeds to the interior, snapped wide there by Will Corey. Bringing it in off the end line at Schellenberger. You see how these two teams fare per game offensively. Top of the heat. Schellenberger going to goal. He scores. Connor Schellenberger.
Connor Schellenberger is dangerous anytime on the lacrosse field, but when you have miscommunication on a pick, this is just lights out if you're the Virginia Cavaliers, and a nightmare if you're a Maryland Terrapin fan. Excellent pick. Looked like poor communication as Makar was just ran into a brick wall, and that allowed Schellenberger to get around goal line extended uncontested.
Connor has goals in 11 straight games. He leads the nation in assists. 3-2 for the Terrapins. Khan's second tally is the lead marker for the Terps as we drift below 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. Another good ground ball battle. Virginia, for the last few seasons, has been the #1 team in the nation. Ground balls per game.
The running joke is Doyle Smith created that ground ball monster. It was continued by Vince Brad Ice, and now Patrick Bowling. I'm not buying it. I think Virginia's good at sucking the ball up off the carpet. You look at the athleticism, you look at the toughness.
Lars Tiffany says it's intensity year after year that he is so proud of his group. Fairman brings it across. Bubba elected to play short stick D mid this season. Coach Tillman says it was his decision, not ours.
And when you look at Maryland, a player here today is Jake Higgins. He was injured in last year's national championship game. John Tillman says that was a huge miss for us with some of the injuries that they've had at short stick. Bubba Fairman, a selfless act, saying, listen, we've got plenty of guns on the offensive end. Let me help the team by playing some defensive midfield, and it's paid off huge.
DeMeo trying to get underneath on Jack Peel. Sneaks out, snaps this one, and Nunes makes the save.
Again, look at the positioning. There was only one way DeMeo could shoot that ball, over his shoulder, and Nunes read it all the way. Easy save.
Bauer, who's been pushed to close defense from a long stick midfield position. That's due to the injury to Ben Wayer. Here's a turnover forced. Smith closing in. Smith feeds. Khan waits. Move it to Murphy. He sent it wide. Off the unsettled situation, Maryland thrilled to have 39 Alex Smith back in its lineup. Coach Tillman said he was on a pitch count last week coming back from an injury.
That's one of those guys who has been missing for Maryland. Josh Kaufman is another one. And what a play in coming back on the big stage. And Murphy's going to wish he could have that one back. You should have canned that one. Unselfish one more by Keegan Khan.
Terps are swinging around. Wisnowskis, incredible work ethic, tremendous talent. Off the curl, Donville fires, he scores! Jonathan Donville. This Maryland team has an incredible shooting percentage.
These two teams are 1 and 2 in the nation for a variety of reasons, but fundamentals is one of them. Look at this cut by Donville. He keeps his feet moving, young players. He doesn't stop and pop. Keeps his feet moving, takes an extra 2 or 3 steps to increase his angle, get a better look at the cage, and then he just delivers a beautiful bounce shot. Another lost art in the game of lacrosse.
Weirman wins the draw. Weirman going to Murphy. Murphy hesitates, fidgets and fires. He scores. Lightning in a bottle for Maryland. Owen Murphy.
If I'm Virginia, I'm going to start locking on the attackman when Weirman wins it out the front door and let him go downtown. Weirman again just slips it over to Owen Murphy. Watch it right off of the draw. Gets it to Murphy. Gets a little chin music right there, no call, and then hammers it past Matt Nunes. Owen Murphy, great composure, beautiful, strong shot.
Into double figures for Owen Murphy, who's the 3rd leading goal scorer. LaSala, violation. Give the ball to Weirman and the Terps. Their largest lead on the day, it's improved to 3. Those last 2 tallies a mere 8 seconds apart from Donville and Murphy. You watch enough film of Maryland, you'll see that Donville goal time after time, game after game. Murphy hiding back behind the cage. Final half minute of the quarter. Flushed out by Saustad. Nunes! A beautiful recovery stop.
That's got to melt your heart, Joe B. What a save.
Last chance for the Cavaliers. Final possession of the quarter. Connor feeds. Dixon keeps it hot. And Moore stashes it. Matt Moore beating the clock.
Outstanding execution for the Virginia Cavaliers. They just bring the ball up the field, climb the ladder, and they just beat Maryland to the box. Plain and simple. It's just an easy ball rotation. Matt Moore, one-on-one, tips it and slips it past Matt Naney.
His 2nd on the day as he continues to chase down Steele Stanwyck for #1 all-time in terms of points at Virginia. 5-3 Maryland. One last draw in this quarter. Saladay off the wing, heaves it towards the cage, and we are done with one. Action-packed in Washington.
That was only one quarter, Joe?
That's only one. Both of these teams, so many weapons. Murphy, one of those for the Terps. Ripping one past Nunes on Big Ten Network. Mark, we talked about face-off effectiveness in this game today being pivotal. Luke Weirman has had a strong showing to this point.
And we thought he would. You know, he's a guy who has had to live with missing that final shot last year in the national championship game. He has been terrific in 2022. If there was a vote at this stage of the season for first-team All-American face-off, Luke Weirman is getting a lot of votes. And what I'm impressed most with here today is him winning it out the front door and his decision-making. Virginia is not, they're almost guarding him when he's coming down. They're leaving his attackman open, and Weirman is making use of it and dishing the rock beautifully.
Top of the screen, you see Weirman's effectiveness today. In the national championship game a season ago, mostly against LaSala, he won 14 of 30, so a little bit under 50% there. P.D. LaSala on that day, winning the title and taking 21 of 37 for the Cavs.
LaSala is a stud. And Gable Braun is an incredibly capable backup. And Luke Weirman, you know, Matt Kinnear talked about it this week on the D-Fly Dixie podcast on Inside Lacrosse. Who can get goals off of the face-off? He thought that was going to be a huge key to the game. And Luke Weirman is proving him prophetic.
Just past the bottom of the hour, sun splash day in Washington, D.C. Great crowd checking this one out. Long drive, score! DeMayo!
The ball movement for Maryland right now is sensational. They're just getting the ball to dangerous spots. And let's not forget, Cade Saustad playing his first game in a couple of weeks. Maybe he's a little rusty, maybe the communication isn't there, but Virginia right now just looks a little bit disorganized defensively.
DeMayo with a rip, Wisnauskas on the feed. The 2021 Terps set school records just about everywhere offensively, and this group this season is on an even better pace. Officials awarding the ball to Virginia. Lasala doesn't mind going to goal offensively.
He can play. He's not a Fogo.
Sharp angle, top corner. Schellenberger.
Equal opportunity disorganization on defense. Virginia looked disorganized. Now Maryland has given up their second consecutive goal where the communication just really wasn't there. Matt Moore looks down, and you leave Connor Schellenberger wide open 5 yards to the side of your goalie. That's what's going to be the end result. So we're seeing the big two right now, Joe. The big two for Virginia have all of their goals. Who else is going to step up for the Cavaliers and make some things happen?
An amazing shooter is Schellenberger. He has 12 goals in his last 4 games, including today.
Unbelievable talent.
Maryland's lead clipped back to 2.
And that's what we talked about this week. You know, Virginia's got the big two, and they've got a lot of other great players. But no other team in college lacrosse may have that 1-2 punch like Virginia possesses. Maryland, meanwhile, they just go 6-7 solid down the line, led by Wisnowskis.
Molliver against Bauer, turns back, he scores! Off the question mark. Maryland shoots about 40% this season, and the numbers today are not going to hurt that at all.
Not in the least. And when you consider 2 or 3 spectacular saves by Nunes, they could have more, but this is just your classic rocker step. Nice little job getting above goal line extended, about 5 and 5. Feel the pressure of your defender. One way, you go the other. And a nice shot past Matt Nunes. Molliver is just another one in a long line of Maryland Terrapin attackmen who just possess incredible
fundamentals. 13 Terps scored last week against these with 6-0 marks. Maryland has earned the lion's share of the possessions in this first half, winning a great deal of the faceoffs.
Well, they're creating matchup problems as well because Owen Murphy is now playing attack today. That means they're running Molliver out of the box, looking for a matchup. And they found one on that last Maryland possession.
Sawstad with that braced right knee. Nunes makes the save there, a neat one on DeMeo.
One more step if you're DeMeo.
The freshman goalie Nunes not only is a very good shot stopper, you watch him clear the ball, he throws frozen rope outlet passes.
He's an incredible talent. He's a kid that I got to watch play a couple of times in his high school career in the summer circuit. An incredible stopper, great communicator, excellent on his outlet passes. He got an opportunity with the graduation of Alex Rode and the transfer of Bobby Gavin to Syracuse, created an opportunity, and he stepped right in and started and done very, very well for Lars Tiffany's team.
Here's the other spectacular freshman. Schutz going to goal against Pravilski. Nice feed inside, and it's cashed in for Xander Dixon.
Things are getting a little frisky in downtown D.C. We asked the question, who else other than Moore and Schellenberger can step up? Schutz and Dixon heard the call. Look at the attention. Griffin Schutz. 3 white jerseys are paying attention. And a nifty little lever pass. Almost like a gunslinger. Boom. Right down to Dixon, who slips it past McNaney.
Dixon, top of the screen, 14 goals. 4 of those already this season are game-winning goals. He has tallies in all 7 games this season. Maryland's lead is back to 2. Weirman against Braun. Gable Braun gets possession but lost it there, wildly trying to save it on the sideline. Weirman going the other way. No numbers for Maryland. They'll slow into a 6-on-6.
Molliver back on attack for Maryland.
Geppert scored twice last week. He thought about it, the long stick midfielder.
He was eyeing up that goal. One thing to keep an eye on. Virginia has used 2 face-off men thus far in LaSala and Braun. Weirman's taken every single one for Maryland. It's a warm day today. and it just got warm pretty quick over the last couple of days. Maryland has made a reputation of being able to go 2 and 3 deep at the faceoff dot. How will the weather and the workload affect Weirman?
Jack Brennan has the ball. 40 seconds to shoot for Maryland. Off the roll dodge here against Saladay. Both of these teams with incredible depth at short stick D-mid. Kahn, who has a couple already today. Rolling back. Sostad there measures him. Here comes help from Matsui. Switch it. Wisniewskis. He scores off of a fabulous feed.
Holy smokes. The action just keeps coming. Keegan Kahn, another great individual effort. And this one's going to hurt, folks. Watch this. Covered. Let me take a piece of your thigh right there. Gets smacked, and then just a beautiful look across the field to Logan Wisniewskis. And when Logan Wisniewskis has that time and room, this time of year is taxes, Wisniewskis as automatic as the IRS.
Wisniewskis points in all 64 games of his lacrosse career. We go back to the face-off X. This ball is goosed ahead and taken by Sostad off the turf for Virginia. Zinn, the former Johns Hopkins Blue Jay, gets away from Fairman. Sets up shop offensively for the Cavaliers. Just shy of the 5-minute mark in the second quarter. High scoring, as we knew it would be, between number 1 and number 2 in the nation. Simmons keeps it hot for Peter Garno. Garno wears 33 in the blue. Higgins forces him into the lane. Moore already with 3 points on the afternoon. Makar stuck to him like glue. Corey against Fairman. Help comes from Higgins. Ball down. Cormier. Quick cradle. Snapshot that was blocked. Oh, Cormier plucked that out of the air with great hands. Then he coughed it up to Fairman. Terps want to run in transition. Zapatello looks for the trailer. Jake Higgins will slow tempo now. Maryland gets back to work on offense, already 8 on the board.
I love how Maryland is always looking to attack, always probing. So is Virginia.
DeMeo moves it. Molliver has his defender hung up. The pass comes over the top, ball down. Long with a good scoop. Still 40 seconds to operate on the shot clock. Donville. Matched up with Connor. Kahn for Long and around the horn. DeMeo against Zinn. Gets a little screen there from Wisniewskis. Donville shimmies, fires, he scores! The bouncer upstairs.
You gotta love the feet of Jonathan Donville, number 3 in white. We saw him with a goal last quarter, cutting across the face of the defense, and he keeps his feet moving. Watch him put the brakes on. Oh my goodness, that is exceptional footwork by Donville. Stops on a dime, goes to the area vacated by his defender. Juke and shoot, Mr. Donville.
Mark, you were discussing this, the options that Maryland possesses. Lars Tiffany, Virginia's coach, said you have to be ready for 4 or 5 different pushes, different probes. You use the word probes. Finally, it would be Donville with his second of the day.
They're so balanced and so deep. If there's one criticism of Maryland, it's, okay, they always get off to fast starts, and then they quote-unquote fade at the end of the season. If making championship weekend year after year is fading, a lot of programs would take that. But this is a Maryland team that they just work so hard, they're so dialed in, and they've hit the ground running in this one.
Connor trying to get to the cage. Nearing the midway mark of the second quarter. That pass inside for Dixon. He was flattened at the midline. It'll stay Virginia ball. This 6-0 start for Virginia is their best since 2014. The last time they were 7-0, they won their first 8 in 2012. Schutz against Geppert. Moore picked up by Makar. Schellenberger with Zapatello. Puglisi there to help. by Zapatello, getting his stick up on the pass, and McNaney is right there to help his own cause.
Love that athleticism of McNaney. Saw the ball on the ground, goes out, picks it up. Rahal and Makar, they've been staples on this Maryland defense for years now. How about Ajax Zapatello replacing a second-team All-American in Nick Grill? And he has just fit in seamlessly to Jesse Bernhardt's defensive unit.
See what happened back behind the net to Puglisi's stick. Oops.
Snapped it right in half.
So now, Maryland at the offensive end with Brennan. Then Owen Murphy. Picked up on the outside. Mitchell Whalen is the top LSN with Weyer out. Kahn with a fabulous move. A better save, though, by Nunes. Keegan Kahn is feeling it today.
I'm Gumby. I mean, just contorting his body to get that shot off. And again, Nunes holding his ground, not going for a stick fake, following the ball. What an unbelievable save. I'm really impressed with Keegan Kahn and the physical abuse he has taken so far in this game.
John Tillman said of the transfers, like Kahn, like Murphy, like Donville, they all have come in and fit in neatly, didn't need to be the focal point. They've meshed extremely well inside of Bobby Benson's offense.
And they've grown. And Benson, remember, this is his first full year working with this offensive unit, and you see the stamp that he's had on this team.
Schellenberger against Fairman. Tiptoes the crease. Kick out save by McNaney. Ball down. Rebound belongs to Maryland. They can run. Krabilski looking for the numbers and the fast break. It's a slow break coming late. Makar fires. He scores! Brett Makar brings them up out of their seats.
The Maryland faithful are on their feet. It's March Madness, folks. And look at the run out. Puglisi picks it up. Finds the point man. Where's the trailer? Makar, let's pull up from three. Bang. Unbelievable sequence right there. Great transition. And Makar, you could hear the collective catching of the breath when he roared that 70 inches of titanium back and the explosion when it found the back of the cage.
We will take this timeout to show you Makar emphatically making his way back to the sideline. Terps faithful, loving what they have seen so far. A 10-5 advantage for Maryland with Keegan Kahn driving the bus in D.C. Listen up, Dixie. We got a road trip next Sunday. The Terps hitting the road for the conference opener against the Nittany Lions. Big Ten men's lacrosse next Sunday, 7 Eastern on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app.
Penn State, such a young team, pulling it together. Upset Yale. They've had a couple of heartbreaking one-goal losses. So can't wait to go to the Creamery with you up at State College, Joe, next weekend. And there's Lars Tiffany just settling his troops down. He's emotional, but he is a two-time defending national champion, and he knows that his Cavaliers possess the firepower and the talent to come back from any deficit.
He looks after the defensive end, right? John Tillman says he's one of the very, very best at making adjustments on the defensive side. So it's going to be adjust, counter-adjust throughout the day today between these top two teams in the nation. Maryland out of the Big Ten, Virginia out of the ACC.
Virginia facing their largest deficit of the season. Previously, they were down by 3 goals to each Towson and Air Force.
Murphy spins and fires. He trimmed that too fine. Backed up on the end line, closest to the ball when it's shot. Where and when it leaves the playing surface gets possession.
I love it. You got the when and the where, Joe.
You've been teaching me. Uh-oh. Lost the handle there. Long did for a moment. Captures again. Murphy, who's been playing a lot from behind the cage today. Wisnauskas with the face dodge on. Matsui chopping at him. Kahn, who's been dazzling in this first half. Snuffed out there. Nunes took a knee to make the save.
Noah Chismar picking the ground ball up. Good defense by Chismar.
Chismar, who hails from Baltimore, Maryland, but you look at the Virginia roster, you'll see so many of their star players hail from untraditional hotbeds of lacrosse. Start with a goalie who comes to us from Texas.
They find them everywhere. When you look at Virginia, Texas, California, Canada, although Canada's not non-traditional, but they got them everywhere.
Murphy lets this one go, trickles in. Owen Murphy's done it again. Maryland's largest lead climbs to 6.
Thought Nunes had this one tracked, but when old man Mo is on your side, it's almost like a hockey goal. Looked like it may have been deflected on the way to the 6x6. DeMeo finds Murphy, and he almost uses number 4, Jeff Connors, as a screen. Nunes can't track it. It hits his stick, goes in the back of the cage, and Virginia, it starts at the face-off dot. Can they win a possession?
Gable Braun just did it for Saladay, the short stick D-mid captain for Virginia. Back early.
Up the field, we saw the stop, and then the failed clear by Virginia led to the Murphy goal. There they get a possession, lose the ball out of bounds. Virginia, big defensive stand coming up.
3 different multi-goal scorers for the Terps. Among the goal scorers today, Brett Makar's first ever collegiate goal for the All-American close defender. It's 11-5 for the guys in white.
Maryland just has all the juice right now. They've got all the momentum. Virginia needs a play to stop it.
On a 4-0 run the last 7 minutes. Kahn, Wisnauskas, Chorus, and then back behind. Brennan picked up by Peel. Peel lowers the shoulder. Shot clock's at 30. Molliver comes to get it. Matsui right after him. Matsui from Minnesota. Nunes put it on the deck. It was swiped, kicked out of bounds, and it goes to Virginia.
Great check by Cole Kastner. We haven't called his name a whole lot today. One of the best defenders, not only in the ACC, but in the country. And that was a big play from Kastner because Nunes almost gave it right back to Maryland. Kastner uses that long reach to bottom hand slap check, ball out of bounds, and a much-needed possession for his Cavaliers.
At 6'7", Kastner is the king of chaos.
This is a gigantic defensive unit for the Virginia Cavaliers. And you want to talk about Jack and the Beanstalk. These guys are long and athletic.
Dixon, sidewinder, he scores. Xander Dixon gets Virginia back on the board with his second on the day.
Credit Cole Kastner. You just need a play to get the ball back. And that's exactly what Kastner did. Makes the play, and Xander Dixon uses his athleticism. Bad approach right there. And that's a player coming back from injury. Probably not up to game speed just yet. And Dixon takes advantage by getting a step and whipping it past the Maryland goaltender.
Top of the screen, 15 times Dixon on the board this season. Multiple goal games in 6 of 7 for the Cavs. The Cavaliers of Virginia. Xander has 2 today. He had 4 against Air Force earlier in the season. Cavaliers looking for the ground ball. Ditto for the Terps. It comes up for Gephardt. Molliver drifting into this 6-on-6 offensive attack. A sun-splashed day in the nation's capital. The second of 3 games as part of the inaugural Capital Classic Lacrosse Tournament. This is the first ever Division I lacrosse game at Audi Field.
And I have a feeling the fans might be back. I mean, what a crowd we have on hand here in D.C.
DeMeo isolating against Chismar. Swing it back. Wisnauskas to the top corner. A scorcher.
Logan Wisnauskas is a lacrosse geek. And I mean that in the most complimentary way it could be construed. He's a guy who lives and breathes the game, and his maturation, his expanded skill set is off the charts. He's a guy who can carry, he can feed, but this is his forte. Time, room, feet set, finding the back of the net. Unbelievable shot by Logan Wisnauskas.
All of those wall ball Wednesday sessions paying off for Logan Wisnauskas. John Tillman and the Terps doubling up Virginia in this one, 12-6 with just a little less than 2 minutes to go in the opening half.
There we get a look at John Tillman. He's got to be happy with what he's seen so far.
Indeed. Wednesday, women's lacrosse comes your way. Fourth-ranked Terps taking on Penn. Live coverage beginning this Wednesday, 7 Eastern, on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. High-scoring Aurora Cordingly for Maryland. Nittany Lions squaring off in that one. Sorry, Penn. Not Penn State, but Penn.
Hey, everybody confuses the Quakers and the Nittany Lions. It happens. Aurora Cordingly, though, the transfer from Johns Hopkins University, making some great plays for that Terrapin team. And it's always great to see the Big Ten take on the Ivy League. That'll be a tremendous game. Maryland rebounding from what they consider to be a subpar season a year ago in the women's game. And they're amongst the nation's elite once more, as are these two teams and that man right there, Connor Schellenberger from the University of Virginia.
Yeah, this is a Virginia team that can clamp down on you defensively. You look at the run for Maryland over the last 7+ minutes. They have 5 of the last 6 goals on the board, but Virginia held North Carolina to just 1 goal in the second half last week. Maryland has run roughshod over them in the first half today. A dozen rung up against the freshman netminder Nunes. Digging in on the draw. Gable Braun pops it out against Weirman. Possession belongs to Maryland.
Procedure against Virginia. They stepped out of the box too soon, but then a sloppy outlet creates a loose ball. Virginia, can they come up with it?
Wisnauskas being attacked, and it is Kastner who came up with it, but then lost it himself.
Interference called against Maryland. Ball's on the ground. Big checks. I guess they're going to say Wisnauskas ran out Kastner when Virginia had the ball. So in essence, almost a moving pick. Virginia catches a break and gets another possession.
Schutz taking the handoff from Dixon. Less than a minute to go. Shot clock turned off. Cavaliers can have the last possession if they choose. Schellenberger dealing with Zapatello. Prabilski against the freshman Schutz, who will invert. Rolls back, rings the post. Rebound there, gets away from Cormier. Schutz showing you why in the future he will be a top-notch attackman for the Cavaliers. He's running in the first midfield in his freshman year.
He is a man-child. Big, strong, athletic, and he can get to the goal with the best of them, playing out of position, if you will, with all the depth and talent Virginia has in attack. But he will be manning that lower position offensively for Virginia in Charlottesville for years to come.
Long with 10 ticks remaining. Big face dodge from Oliver. Just managed to keep it in his cross. Wisnauskas. DeMeo, 2 seconds left. Long snapped it wide at the conclusion of this first half that has treated Maryland oh so well.
Unbelievable 30 minutes of action, 1 versus 2. The energy has been incredible.
Stay right there with us between quarters 2 and 3. Mark mentions 1 versus 2. We'll give you a little refresher on the other side, this TV timeout. Face off against Weirman. 2 teams that squared off in the national title game. Virginia in the blue today here in D.C., winning that one in thrilling fashion, 17-16. They get the first possession of quarter 3 to the Cavaliers, down by 6.
Well, that's a good start for the next, for the third quarter. LaSalle winning the face-off. I know it's cliche, but chip away one at a time against this Maryland team. And We'll see if Virginia and Sean Kerwin, their offensive coordinator, mixes it up a little bit. They relied a lot on the one-on-one in the first half and weren't a ton successful. Do they go to more ball movement, more misdirection kind of plays?
Connor Schellenberger against Zapatello. Rolling off the screen set by Connor, who scored 3 times in that title game last spring. He's got his defender hung up. It's the short stick D-mid Higgins. No inside roll room there for Connor. Delivers Schellenberger off the hitch. Gets away from Moore. Shot clock at 18. Dixon brings it on around. Jeff Connor, the senior from Pennsylvania, sees that there are 9 ticks left on the shot clock. Working against Higgins. Quick pass, score! Shots. It wasn't in his cross very long.
Get possessions, score goals, move the ball, get the Maryland defense spinning a little bit. I thought this possession was doomed when Schellenberger and Moore were poorly spaced at the top, but good ground ball, kept the possession alive, and you have to love the vision of Connor. I think they're going to go to more of a diet of this invert with Connor in the second half, and Schutz, such a big target, cutting down to that far post, slips it past McNaney.
Face-off win, LaSalle streaking right to the goal. Petey bounces this one. McNaney made the stop. LaSalle was determined to get to the net right there. The guy who has goals in 4 of the 6 games this season for the Cavaliers.
Big save for McNaney, because the roof would have come off this place, and Virginia then would have started a run. So McNaney snuffs that out. Now Maryland has a chance to get their offensive rhythm back, and they quelled that mini Virginia spurt right there.
Subs coming on, top midfield unit, Donville, DeMayo, and Long, in white for Maryland. Donville, who had a couple of tallies in the opening half. Long, stutter step move, kept at bay there by Mitchell Whalen. Whalen and Giulieri have been getting a lot of the long stick midfield work, with Ben Way are missing on the injured list. Molliver, Donville, DeMayo, and then Kahn. Kahn started beautifully in the opening quarter. DeMayo turns. Peel was right there to get into his ribs. DeMayo drags it a long way from the cage. 12 seconds to shoot. Molliver goosed it for Donville. A diving Matsui is there. He'll kick it loose. Sostad comes up. The defensive captain, who's been playing injured today. On the end line, the officials say Maryland ball for now.
And this is a shot clock issue. This is a shot they're going to, because the reset has happened to 80 because they thought it was a change of possession, but the referee Jason Parks is at the table right now only showing 2 seconds. So even though Sostad couldn't control, they're going to argue that Sostad didn't control it, that it just went off of him out of bounds. Therefore, no reset of the shot clock, and Maryland will probably just dump it into the corner.
Kahn palms up, walking towards the official, looking for an explanation after this on the end line.
Yeah, right there, I think Maryland is arguing that there was possession by Sostad. The referees are saying no dice. It was just deflected off of his stick. We'll see what Maryland does with the 2 seconds.
You mentioned Jason Parks. He's working in concert with Brian Abbott and Hans Wittelsberger today. As you surmised, Mark, Maryland just drops it off into the corner. The shot clock violation. The ball belongs to Virginia. The Cavaliers, on a goal from Griffin Schutz, have narrowed their deficit to 5.
On that last Maryland possession, we did see an adjustment made by Virginia.
Kastner taking a pot shot towards the open goal. Maryland was in a 10-man ride.
I thought McNaney should have had that one. It could be trouble now.
Chismar had it deflected. Noah Chismar, of whom Lars Tiffany said he figured out our defensive schemes in about 5 minutes. Usually takes a lot longer than that.
He played attack in high school and midfield, offensive. So to come in and not only grasp the defensive system of Virginia, but to earn a spot. He's a walk-on, Joe. He is a walk-on lacrosse player here at the University of Virginia. For him to be in the position that he is, playing quality minutes, is terrific.
Decommitted from Marquette. Has points in 3 of 6 so far this season. As the officials get things sorted out, The shadows are lengthening here in D.C. Lars Tiffany bathed in sunshine. His Cavaliers 6-0. Terrapins in white 6-0.
Just to finish my thought from earlier, Donville is now being pulled by Matsui, a defensive adjustment from Virginia.
Big swim move from Connor. Fenced in there defensively by Geppert with help from Rahill. Shot clock's at 15. Schellenberger against Makar in that All-American matchup. Schellenberger, quick pass inside, ball down on the deck. Probilski comes up a running. It's Zapatello, mind you, snapping that one. 36, not 56. Ajax Zapatello just missed the top corner. Backed up on the inline. Terps keep possession. Closing. Puglisi, then Wisnauskas. Didn't convert. It rattles around the frame. Wisnauskas is ailing at the top of the crease.
Looks like he's getting up, and we're going to have either a push or an illegal body check against Virginia. Watch Wisnauskas get inside. There's a slash right there. And then Wisnauskas was going down when he was hit. I'm not sure what the referees are going to take on this one.
A ringing hit from Matsui to the headgear of Wisnauskas.
It's an illegal body check, contact to the head, 1 minute, non-releasable against the Virginia Cavaliers. I thought that was unfortunate. Wisnauskas is falling down, and therefore he goes right into the elbow of Matsui. So that was unfortunate for Matsui. I thought they could have called a slash against Wisnauskas a couple seconds before that. But either way, Virginia is in the box. But a big point, though, non-releasable, which means if Maryland scores, the foul is not released. The Virginia will be man down for the full 60 seconds as Lars Tiffany pleads his case to the officiating crew.
Maryland is 42% on extra man in 2022. Virginia leads the ACC. They neutralize 75% man down. Murphy, they circle it up. Wisnauskas is up top. Feed it inside. It's a sidewinder that just missed the target there. First call in the day for Daniel Maltz, who has goals in 5 of 6 for Maryland, 37 in the white. DeMeo will get it right back for Donville. Keegan Kahn. Wisnauskas. Murphy moving his feet. Extra man here for Maryland. Great pass inside of the skip. Kahn turns. Hits the crossbar. Murphy fires on the follow-up to score.
Huge goal for Maryland, and they'll have a man-up face-off as 22 seconds remain on the foul. I've been so impressed with Keegan Kahn and his stick work and his athletic ability. Watch, the whirling dervish kisses off the iron, and Owen Murphy, there's no kissing right there. That was full-fledged hammer to the back of the cage. Maryland again, man-up face-off, opportunity to go on another run.
Murphy, who introduced himself to Maryland fans with a 4-goal performance against High Point in the season opener, he has the hat trick today. 13-7 for the Terps. Lacrosse on Big Ten Network, and Maryland gets another offensive possession.
You know, Lacrosse has become these headshots, whether it's intentional, non-intentional, this, that. You know, it's almost like the quarterback in the NFL. Any contact to the head of a quarterback, no matter how light, how vicious, you're going to get a flag. And now Virginia, we're 6-on-6 again, even strength.
Back to even as you saw Sin, 0 and blue enter the picture. Sostad keeps it alive on the sideline. Nice scoop there on the perimeter by Bauer. And Virginia has the ball and 9 minutes with which to work in the third quarter. Maryland and Virginia, both of these teams pride themselves on their ride. No easy clears, and the Terps force a turnover.
Maryland coaching staff wanted a hold on that one. No dice. You've got to earn your fouls here today. It's like Gladiator.
Saladay staring daggers at Donville. Donville gets it in gear. Wisnauskas off the cut, snapped it wide. Great catch on the back up there by Kahn. Keegan Kahn. Plenty of time in the shot clock. A deliberate set now for Maryland. Long closing in against Sawstad. No shooting room there on the angle. Keeps it hot. Donville. Measured by Saladay. Here comes the help. Force that pass through the seam. Long. DeMeo picked up by Zinn. Off the swim. DeMeo inside. He scores!
The work rate of this Maryland lacrosse team has been exceptional so far in this game. Constantly moving their feet, constantly going goalward, constantly putting pressure. And this one's no exception. Watch DeMeo, the footwork, and just a swim move. Able to get past Evan Zinn. Zinn did not keep his feet moving. Got hunkered down to his right. DeMeo goes left, and then he just slips it into the upper 90 of the Virginia cage.
Goal number 14 on the day for the Terps. Maryland has a dozen or more in 30 of its last 31 games. Weirman, who is having himself a banner day at the Face-Off X, wins another one. What's the nickname Maryland uses for its face-off guys? Don't they call them the hog pen?
Yes. It's something that, to you and I would not be flattering, but to those guys, it's a badge of honor.
Right now, Weirman is boss hog, indeed.
Yeah. I just hope Roscoe Pico train doesn't come running out. Actually, that'd be kind of funny.
Molliver on the go. Chorus. Away from two Virginia defenders. Kahn. Working against Sawstad on the inside roll. He scores. Keegan Kahn keeps the hits coming.
So dangerous around the cage is Keegan Kahn, showing the flair for being a defense one-on-one. And then again, he takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Just look at him. Eyes are up. Takes a little gratuitous slap. Inside roll. Great body control. Knows he's going to pay the price, but holds it, and then puts it past Nunes. This Maryland team showing off that depth of a solid 6-7 guys capable of finding the back of the net.
Kahn, who was the leading scorer for Villanova last season, in his first game as a Terp, he had 4 goals against High Point. He has 3 today. Maryland has its largest lead. They've put the last 3 on the board in just under 2.5 minutes. Kastner comes up for Virginia. The 2-time defending national champs.
The energy with which Maryland is playing has been incredible here today. The way their defense has exploded out of their end on ground balls, creating transition, running like their hair is on fire. This is a different group today, at least athletically, from the Virginia defense, which is long, athletic, but they haven't showed that speed that Maryland has shown with their pros today.
Duke was the last team to go back-to-back in terms of national title wins. 13 and 14. Inside Cormier. Finally, we hear from Peyton Cormier.
Virginia will not go away, that is for sure. And Cormier, incredible athletic specimen, 6'2". He's listed as 200 pounds. He's more than 200 pounds. Look at him soak the checks, nose for the goal, finds daylight, slips in between this Maryland defense, and then bounces it past McNaney.
He might be half 100 more than 200.
I didn't want to say.
The goal-scoring leader for the Cavaliers gets himself on the board, makes it 15-8. Violation against Virginia. Ball for Weirman and the Terps. 6 and change to go in the third quarter. Exceptionally high-scoring day. It's been one of those after another for Maryland this season. This time they're doing it against the number 2 ranked team in the land. Just off the bench in the second midfield, it's Jack Brennan running against Saladay. Brennan tucks it down, feeds, Chorus fires, that's high on the freshman Nunes. Ball on the end line belongs to Molliver. He'll tiptoe right back in. 35 seconds in the shot clock for Maryland. Long snap delivery answered by Nunes. That was easy pickings from Chorus.
Yeah, you haven't seen Maryland make many bad decisions today. That was not a good shot going away from the goal. Bad location. Now Virginia with the transition opportunity.
Whalen wants to push it. Danny Parker. Feed for the late guy coming there is Will Corey, as he's measured by Higgins. Will Corey has tallies in 4 of his 6 games this season. Looks like he wants to invert now as Simmons joins the party off the bench, 12 in the blue. Jack Simmons, who scored 4 times in an early season win over Towson. Corey turns and fires, just a little bit tall on McNaney.
They found success in the invert game. See if they stick to it. But of course, when you have Moore and Schellenberger, you want to get these guys as many touches, as much involvement as you can.
Matt Moore on the hop, sprinting in, wraps and scores. An amazing release there from Matt Moore.
It doesn't take much. The incredible speed, the stick work. Matt Moore, only a sliver of daylight as Makar had his stick in the gloves of number 5. And Moore is still able to get a shot off and hit the back of the net.
Moore and Cormier back-to-back. The first time all day Virginia has goals back-to-back. With a timeout, we'll get you back for more in the third quarter. Maryland and Virginia, the top of the table in all of the lacrosse land. The Terps bragging about their offense, and it continues here in D.C. Every Big Ten team, every Big Ten sport customized your way on the new Big Ten Plus app powered by Big Ten Network. Stream hundreds of live, non-televised events, plus next-day re-airs. It all adds up to a bigger Big Ten. Download and subscribe today. Nice to have you along for the ride with Lacrosse on Big Ten Network. Joe Beninati, Mark Dixon with you from Audi Field in Washington, D.C. Temperatures in the 70s now. The offense shining for Maryland. The face-off work all afternoon long from Luke Weirman has been extraordinary, and that's the reason why Maryland has the lead by 6, although Virginia has the last 2 goals and a chance to make it 3 in succession now. More unsettled. Caught from behind by Long. Help comes from Zappatello. But Virginia has a chance now to string some tallies together.
Unfortunate turnover for Maryland. You don't see that often. Just sloppy in the middle of the field. I like the decision by Moore. You know he's feeling it a little bit. He wouldn't he would love to hit that shot straight away from 12, 13 yards, but he knows, pull it out. Let's probe this defense and let's just chip away one at a time. 9
of the last 13 meetings between these two teams have been decided by 3 goals or less. Virginia does not convert on that trip. Maryland Zappatello with McNaney starts the clear. Puglisi, who has been annually an outstanding short stick D-mid. Here comes that Virginia troublesome ride, nearly forcing the turnover there.
Connor almost picked that one off like a cornerback sitting on a route. Couldn't quite handle it. Maryland catches a break as it deflects off his cross out of bounds.
Three minutes, 12 seconds to go in the third. Donville shakes loose, put that one off the post. Wisnauskas rumbling after it. So too Kastner there for Virginia as he chopped down Long. Virginia says, let's go on the restart. Working quickly, Chismar right to the cage. Cormier, snapper denied. McNaney made that one look easy. It wasn't.
Not crazy about that shot location. Not sure Cormier wanted to shoot that, but again, we talked about it so many times, Joe. McNaney, his position and his fundamentals, he doesn't guess. He's going to shoot where you put the ball, or he's going to try to make the save where you put the ball, and he just sat and ate that one up.
Maryland's offensive execution today has been terrific. Obviously, they've scored 15 goals before the end of the third quarter. Do they start to slow it down now or wait a while?
I think you continue to do what you've been doing, but you're even, and this is a team that doesn't take willy-nilly shots. That last win by course was as bad as it gets, and that wasn't off the charts terrible. So I think you probe and take what you get, but this is a team that they're in a rhythm. They're dialed in so well right now.
Molliver turns back. Help comes from Kahn. Kahn has been an igniter today. Waiting. Sostad steps out on him. Big defender. Playing through some pain. Kahn distributes. DeMeo, then Donville on the roll. Here comes the double. Shot clock's at 9. Molliver, jump shot blocked. And it comes up for Virginia. Bauer makes the scoop.
Credit Noah Chismar with the snuff. Got his stick up, knocked it down, didn't get it on goalward. Big defensive stop for the Virginia Cavaliers.
Couple of empty possessions in a row for Maryland. That hasn't happened all day. Approaching the final minute of the third quarter. Zinn with Chismar. Looking for Schutz from the top. Schutz scored the first goal of the third quarter for Virginia. Not able to run by Prabilski just yet. Owen Prabilski, another transfer in from Villanova, second team All-Big East performer in the past. Xander Dixon accelerates on Higgins, shakes loose, and flails that one wide of the goal.
The defense for both of these teams has been pretty darn good today. The goaltending, the ground ball work, the physical hits. Look at Chismar, stick up, denying Molliver. Just a taste of what we've experienced throughout this game and a small sample of Maryland versus Virginia, number 1 versus number 2.
Terps asking for the timeout. Lars Tiffany's squad has clawed its way back to within 6. It's been a day at the Face-Off X for Luke Weirman, and we mentioned it, and everybody who's fond of Division I men's lacrosse knows how last season finished after Weirman won a draw and had a chance to tie a game late. Weirman has been face-off star for Maryland today, working against a guy in Petey Lasala who is as physical and as strong and as powerful as it comes from the X.
No doubt. And when you talk about pound for pound, maybe the strongest, toughest player in the country, just listen to this. I think I got a hernia just watching that one, Joe. That is impressive. We're no math majors, but
we were guessing about 465.
Yeah. That is some power for a Petey Lasala listed at 5'7", 195, hoisting that kind of weight on his back.
You know, some guys are just lightning rods for success. When he scores, Virginia is 17-3 in his career. He has not had the upper hand today. Weirman has done a masterful job at the Face-Off X. If you are just tuning in with us, Lacrosse on Big Ten Network, it was 5-3 Maryland after a quarter. The Terps put 7 on the board in the second frame alone. They were doubling up Virginia 12-6 at the break. As of now, 15-9. The score level at 3 apiece in this third quarter.
You think about memories from Maryland as well. How about 2016? It was Connor Kelly that took that shot against North Carolina that could have won a title, and he didn't get it. And that lived with him and motivated him to help 2017 the Terps win a national title. I equate that to Luke Weirman from 2021 to 2022. Motivation.
Late in the shot clock, a violation. That was a horn before the delivery from Dixon.
And if you're Virginia and Xander Dixon, you got to be more aware of the shot clock. And I know he was facing some defensive duress, but man, you just gotta let that thing go. And now McNaney just trying to kill the rest of that clock, taking some shots from Matt Moore. But we got 3 quarters of the
pensive and pondering Lars Tiffany. His team trailing by 6 after 3. 15 minutes to go from Audi Field in Washington, D.C. on Big Ten Network. The breeze is picking up here in the nation's capital as you look at the score divvied up by thirds. Maryland's big second quarter, helping them to a 15-9 advantage after 3. Keegan Conmark scored 8 seconds in. Led you to believe it might be his kind of day.
And he's played great ever since. Killer Khan, if you will, for you 80s professional wrestling fans. And what I love is his dodging ability today. He has provided another weapon off the edge for the Maryland Terrapins, showing that he can get leverage and he can take a beating as well. How many shots, checks, hits has Keegan Khan taken so far here in today's game, and productive with a 5-point outing thus far?
A handful of points for Khan. He had a goal and 4 assists against Loyola earlier in the season for the Terps. Maryland is 6-0. Virginia is 6-0. They are the top 2 teams in the land. Joe Beninati, Mark Dixon, shouting out thanks to all the men and women in our technical crew for Lacrosse on Big Ten Network today. This is the second of 3 games that are being played in this Capital Classic. The nightcap is Duke and Towson. Once Virginia and Maryland are through, Wisnauskas lets it fly. That's high. This game matters most to us, and we've been looking forward to it, and it has not disappointed.
No, not at all.
So much talent on the field.
It's been fun. Action-packed, back and forth. We've had a little bit of everything, and it's not over.
Snapped wide by Anthony DeMeo as the shadows lengthen. Audi Field is the home of Major League Soccer's DC United. Murphy, who's also had a hot hand today, feeds it inside. Khan couldn't roll away from Matsui. The ball belongs to Virginia.
And both of these coaches made sure to accentuate with us this week that, yeah, this is a big game, and yeah, it's exciting, but it's still only March. There's a lot of lacrosse left to be played. Maryland is going to enter their Big Ten conference schedule. Virginia, heavy on the ACC. So regardless of the outcome for each of these teams, they'll take it, they'll learn from it, and they'll try to make themselves better, get better for the next challenge that lies ahead.
Moore against Zapatello, feed it for Schutz. So if Schutz is someday going to be an outstanding attackman at Virginia, we expect that he will be thrilling fans at Klockner Stadium. What is it about his skill set now that you see at midfield that's going to translate?
For a guy with the big body that Schutz has, I love his passing ability. He had an assist right there.
He heard
that
you.
play earlier. I love how he can run against the grain of a defense and get it to tight windows and tight spots in good fashion. Turnover back over to Virginia.
Just called withholding there on Maryland. They tried to make it easy for McNaney in the crease. That backfired.
Wow.
Virginia trying to make it 3 goals in a row now.
I guess with Schutz.
Cormier, he scores. It's 15-10.
Virginia's pressing, and they're finding success. Schutz and Cormier. I know Schutz is taller than Cormier, but their bodies are tight, and their body size is very similar. But look at this little flash cut from Cormier. Finds the bottom of the cage. That's what I'm looking more for Schutz. Maybe I haven't watched him enough, but that shooting ability. You know, he's a freshman amongst the galaxy of stars, so he's probably deferring a little bit in the shooting category, but I'm interested to see his development in the shooting game. And Cormier right there showed a perfect shot to the far post.
We waited a while for Cormier to get on the score sheet. He has 2 of the last 3 goals. Weirman comes up with the draw for Maryland. Khan off the hitch. Good defensive recovery there. Close out from Matsui. Maryland goes 6-on-6. We're in the 4th quarter. Just a couple of minutes in. Lars Tiffany, the head coach for Virginia, said, you know what? This Cavalier team has figured it out earlier than most at 6-0. They're not used to these incredible starts from the outset. Not that he was complaining at all.
Not at all. I mean, if you remember the 2021 Virginia team early season, you were like, do they have the ability to get to championship weekend? Yes. Do they have the ability to win a national championship? Maybe. But, you know, this Virginia team has returned a lot of pieces, and they're experiencing the success that they should be, I think, at this stage of the season.
They won the national championship with a mark of 14-4, just 2-4 in ACC play. Shot clock's at 22.
Twice last year.
Yes. Brennan on the sweep. Sidewinder, stabbed there by Nunes. Matt Nunes, the freshman netminder, turns Maryland away. Virginia its way back to within 4. Zinn with a great speed. Zinn fires. That was a missile that went wide.
Don't mind that from Evan Zinn, gliding into the offensive zone and letting one rip. Big save for Nunes. Mark that one down if Virginia can continue to piece goals together.
Connor runs through the double. Cormier keeps it hot. Moore around the horn. Schellenberger. Yes! Connor Schellenberger and the two-time champs are making the rally.
I'm comfortable calling this a 2-goal turnaround as Nunes denies on one end. Schellenberger comes back. Kyle Long, I feel for you, trying to approach an oncoming Connor Schellenberger with a head of steam is no easy task. And the placement of that shot underneath the crossbar, beautiful shot. Instead of being down 6, Virginia has trimmed the Maryland lead to 4.
4-0 run for Virginia in the last 9 minutes. McNaney comes up. Pitch that one right on the button there on the clear for the Terps. Top-ranked Maryland out of the Big Ten. Puglisi rolls in, bounces and scores! Roman Puglisi.
Puglisi showing a little bit of a pugilist, a counterpunch to Virginia. Score 4 in a row? No problem, guys. I got you. The talented short stick defensive midi cruises. And you've got to play better defense if you're Virginia right there. You just can't let the short stick D midi get around you that easily. One-on-one with your goaltender, but a huge goal for Puglisi.
Puglisi with goals in 4 of his last 5. Saladay comes up with a ground ball for Virginia. It's 16-11 Terps with 11 minutes to go in regulation.
Gigantic goal. A gigantic goal. Because you just give up that goal that you could have, you had to save at one end. You give up the goal at the other to get that one back, so to speak. Huge for the Terps.
Virginia's best ever start under head coach Lars Tiffany. Schutz powers his way in against Geppert. That pass was too tall. He was looking for Schellenberger at the top of the crease. It's a turnover.
And with that dodge right there, Schutz, again, freshman, he's become predictable. Dodging left. Okay, are you going to shoot it? Because we'll get, it's almost like Maryland's giving him the shot, staying on his gloves. They're trying to disrupt his feeding. And they did.
On the sideline, making a break for it, angling in. Behrman going to go. Great pass off of Murphy's cross. It belongs to Virginia. Nunes starts the clear. Dixon uncontested at midfield. Nice shake move on Donville. With 9:55 to go in the 4th.
I thought that was a good look from Donville. A little bit of a mishandle from Owen Murphy, but this Maryland team, you asked me late last quarter, they keep pushing with opportunities, yes, but now that we're under 10 minutes, I think this becomes the time where Maryland just starts to manage the game offensively.
Maryland gets it back.
Sorry, that was Fairman with the feed. I have no problem with going for that.
McNaney on the clear with Rahill. Taking a shot at the empty cage. He scores! The Terps practiced all week, getting ready for a 10-man ride, and they convert.
Rahill is the faceless member of this Maryland defensive unit. He's been a starter, I think, for 3 or 4 years. We rarely mention his name, but on a frozen rope, Rahill says, "You want to see what I've been practicing? How about this? Empty net, bullseye. Maryland extends their lead back to 6.
Scored against Michigan in 2019, scored against Penn in 2020, and now against Virginia in 2022. As the Terps get the ball back, Puglisi takes the feed from Makar, who's had himself a terrific day, offensively and defensively. Puglisi zipped it wide. 17-11 now for Maryland, 6 minutes into the 4th.
It's amazing, Joe. We show Petey LaSala with the squad of 465, and all of a sudden we're getting a bunch of texts with guys sending their pictures of them doing their squats. It's amazing.
Is it inspirational is the question.
People are like, wait a second, I can do that too. And my demographic is a little older than Pete.
Yeah, just a smidge. Inside work there, DeMeo straightening up to make the stop was Nunes. It'll stay for Maryland with 40 seconds on the shot clock. Kyle Long, the third leading scorer for the Terps.
Two teams just going toe-to-toe.
Ripped it right there. Nunes made the save. We see Ben Wayer, 45 out there, who's missed the last 5 games due to injury. We were getting word that he was possibly good to go today, the first-string long stick midfielder for Virginia. Ball down at midfield, scooped on the move by Saladay. Zinn took a bump from Makar, who has been rock steady all day long.
Bad decision by Zinn. He had numbers. Get rid of the ball. Just a poor decision. That could have been a huge opportunity for the Cavaliers.
Makar floats this one into space. Beautifully timed pass for Higgins, who was tripped up, knocked down, and a flag against Simmons of Virginia.
And they're going to go with the trip, not a push. So that'll be a minute foul. Feet get tangled up. How about that outlet pass? And how about the outlet passes all day today from Logan McNeely? Really spot on, great pace, location.
When Maryland scored 24 times against Albany inside of Jones Hill House due to snow in their last encounter, they were 2 for 4 on the extra man. Need of attention there. The Terp down on the deck.
Looks like it's Jonathan Donville. No, excuse me, it's Mako.
Yeah, he was cramping on the last defensive episode for Maryland. In need of attention from the athletic trainer, Anthony Benyarko, as Kahn adds to his total.
A little bit of an overload to the left side on this Maryland extra man unit. And there's nothing fancy here. They overload the left side, and Kahn passes the ball up. All the blue jerseys matriculate in that direction, and they leave them all alone. Dip and dunk. Doesn't get easier than that.
18 goals for Maryland, the most they have scored against Virginia since 1977.
Wow.
Face-off possession going to Virginia. One of the few that Weirman has not secured for Maryland.
Virginia wanted that fast restart. Whistle was delayed for whatever reason. 7.5 minutes left to go. Maryland has answered the little mini run by the Cavaliers. Can Virginia get that mojo back?
Last 3 goals for the Terps on the board. Time ticking more than halfway through the 4th. Schellenberger draws a foul. A pass over the top that's too tall there. McIntosh didn't reel it in, but Virginia goes to extra man.
It's a good opportunity for Virginia. I believe it's their first extra man opportunity of the game. Try to get one here.
One area where Lars Tiffany says his Cavaliers can be much better. They're 4 for 15 this season, 26.7% effective. Zapatello gets the gate for the slash.
And it looked like on that replay, he just caught Schellenberger in the face mask. Creates the one-man releasable opportunity for the Cavaliers.
Virginia puts some motion into its extra man. Schellenberger inside, and it's a quick put away for McIntosh.
He paid the price. Slow to get up is Patrick McIntosh. But not only is that a big goal because you scored, but you scored 13 seconds into the foul. So you didn't use a lot of clock. Just a great look inside. Collision on the doorstep. McIntosh did a great job to catch it, score it, and soak the hit.
McIntosh, who tallied against Carolina in the win for Virginia that came back on Thursday, so they've had a little extra time to get ready for this matchup with Maryland. Off the draw, ball pops high in the air, and Higgins comes up with a scoop for Maryland and White.
I mean, this game, Joe, it has a championship weekend feel. We got a great crowd, two great teams, a lot of energy, play all over the field. This has just been a terrific lacrosse game thus far. I know it's not over, but it's been a lot of fun being with you this afternoon.
Including you and me and our crew on Big Ten Network. Better than 10,000 in attendance today. 10,480 listed as the attendance. Molliver playing cat and mouse with Saladay. Saladay puts a body on. Here comes the double. Coming quickly there was Prestipino off the Virginia bench. Molliver fires! Exclamation point for the Terps.
Maryland doesn't care about the length or the size of this Virginia defense. They've done a great job of fighting through checks, getting to the cage. Molliver is no exception. He just deals with it. Gets topside, stops, pops. Maryland continues to roll.
Expecting standing room only at 3M Arena at Mariucci later tonight. Don't miss the 2022 Big Ten Men's Ice Hockey Tournament Championship presented by Rocket Mortgage. It's the Wolverines and the Gophers. Puck drops tonight at 8 Eastern on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Mark, all season long, those are the two best teams. Good to have them in a championship game.
I was going to ask you, who do you have? Who do you have? I mean, that's a tough call, right?
I think the way Michigan is put together with all of those NHL draft picks, tough game. Gophers, Big Ten Player of the Year, Ben Myers. Matty Beniers, Michigan, led the conference in scoring. That's as good of a pick-em as you can find.
Actually was in Ann Arbor in October. I got to watch the Michigan hockey team play in person. They are impressive.
Ball down, coming up on the scoop here as we get back to lacrosse attention. Little less than 6 minutes to go in the fourth. We anticipated it would be high scoring. It has been. Maryland is on the verge of another 20-point performance, 20-goal game. Joe Beninati, Mark Dixon with you from Audi Field in D.C. About 15 miles away from College Park, about 115 from Charlottesville, Virginia. McNaney snaps the outlet. Geppert brings it across. Terrapins trying to avenge last season's national championship loss. Puglisi adds icing on the cake.
Maryland has played with incredible energy since the opening whistle, and it just keeps continuing here in the fourth quarter. Puglisi with the trail. He's got a decision to make. Draw the defense and dish it to number one, Logan Wisnauskas, or pull up and test his luck against Matt Nunes. He elects the latter, and look at the placement and velocity of that shot right off the lower ankle of Matt Nunes of Virginia.
Mark, that's 7 different guys by my count. 7 different multi-goal guys today for Maryland.
That's what we talked about at the beginning of the show, was Virginia has the big 2, something that most teams in the country, if not any team in the country, has. But Maryland's got a solid 7. And that includes our defensive midfielders. It doesn't include their defensive midfielders.
This is Maryland's 7th game this season. 4 times they have cracked 20 goals. Donville, as soon as he was transferring from Cornell, John Tillman said, just got one glowing report about him after another. And he has fit in splendidly. Wisnauskas against Kastner. Long backpedals and gets in gear against Bauer. A little bit more than 4 minutes with which to work in this game. Maryland has grown the lead to 8 again. Donville fidgets, fires, and scores. Cashing in against David Roselle, who's come on for Matt Nunes in goal.
I like the switch by Virginia, getting another goaltender in there. Nunes is a heck of a goalie. He's had a good season, but right now he's just facing an onslaught as his teammate Roselle. Donville just a little step back, whip shot, through the wickets of Roselle.
Both of these teams have the ability, Mark, to score goals in bunches. Maryland, with 3 more on the board in less than 2 minutes, they come up with a draw again, and Bubba Fairman, relentless for this Maryland team in white. The top 2 teams in the nation squaring off today. It's the 5th time in the last 7 years that we've had number 1 and number 2. Thrilled to bring it to you on Big Ten Network. Down the stretch we go, less than 4 minutes. Brennan and the Terps are cruising right now.
And Maryland's made a statement here today.
And they're doing more. Wisnowskis.
Coming into today, it was Maryland, Virginia, and everyone else. And now I think, at least in mid to late March, you can say it's Maryland and everyone else with this performance. Wisnowskis, nice feed from Oliver, finds the back of the cage. You look at this Maryland team, again, they start Big Ten play exclusively. Next week, we'll have it at Happy Valley. Sunday Night Lacrosse, not only we have the game, Joe, Sunday Night Lacrosse on BTN, or Big Ten Network, is back. Can't wait to get it started.
Virginia doesn't have an easy one a week from today. They host Notre Dame. They've won 21 of their last 25, have the Cavaliers at Glockner.
And the Irish, a big win today over Michigan.
Sure, going to goal. Roselle made the save. Cavaliers, sloppy on the clear there, the behind-the-back pass that went unanswered. Bubba Fairman has it. With 3:20 left, Maryland had 22 goals in 1977 against Virginia. The most they've ever scored against the Cavaliers in 94 clashes is 25. That came back in 1974.
And Maryland, this team is just humming right now, offensively. The defense is tough. I mean, they don't have any holes right now. I'm sure as the season goes on, it's a long season, you got to stay healthy. Teams get more and more film on you. But right now, Maryland is the class of college lacrosse. How about Cornell, though? Cornell breathing down their necks. I mean, they're next up in the rankings at least. Princeton. Georgetown is a team that fell to the Princeton Tigers, but they're a team that's built for a potential run at a national championship. And then you got the Rutgers Scarlet Knights and the rest of the Big Ten. Ohio State, that's a team I can't wait to watch live. I've seen them so many times on tape, but victories over North Carolina, Notre Dame, that's a team that has surprised a lot of people.
Both teams going deep into the bench. Tucker feeds a long outside shot. Maltz tickles the twine 23 times for Maryland.
And Maltz is a guy who was a starter a year ago, now relegated to being an extra man specialist, but it's good to see him get an opportunity with that shot, good location. I mean, Maltz is a kid that can start. I know it might sound cliche, but he's a kid that can start for probably 80-85% of the other teams in Division I lacrosse.
He had a couple of goals for John Tillman last year in the national championship game. Virginia won that thriller 17-16. Maryland exerting some force in the rematch today.
And again, you're Virginia. You know, you got an incredible coaching staff. You've got a great team. Today was Maryland's day. They'll learn. They'll adjust. They're very much in the mix, as are a bunch of other teams as well. But this will ground them. This will bring them back to earth a little bit. And Lars Tiffany couldn't emphasize it more in our call with him this week that, yeah, it feels like a bowl game. It feels like an NCAA playoff game in preparation, but we understand that this is still March. And we understand that we may lose this game, but no matter what, we're going to learn from it, and we're going to get better.
23-12 for Maryland. Coming up next on Big Ten Network, Campus Eats, on a day when the Terrapins have eaten up the Cavaliers. A fourth quarter explosion. Virginia narrowed the margin to as close as 15-11. And once again after that, Maryland stepped on the gas. It'll be done in 55 seconds. 45 in the white is Daniel Kelly. All he did was have 4 last week indoors against Albany. Coach Tillman was happy to praise the staff, the operations staff, for all the work they did to get that game with Albany indoors matchup at Audi Field. Number 1 in the land, Maryland in the white, going to convincingly keep its hold on the number 1 ranking. Both teams were 6-0 heading into this clash. Maryland's coming out unscathed. One last-ditch effort for the Cavaliers. Kumar. Sure there defensively. And the final horn sounds. Maryland, big time over Virginia, 23-12.
Number 1 versus number 2. It's been emphasized and accentuated who number 1 is with a bullet. That is the Maryland Terrapins. An absolutely dominant effort today against an incredible lacrosse team in the Virginia Cavaliers. Hats off to the Terps.
Keegan Kahn had 4. Luke Weirman was fantastic at the face-off X. So much, so well done by Maryland. For Mark Dixon, for all the men and women in our crew, Joe Beninati, thanks for your time. Maryland downs Virginia in this matchup of 1 versus 2. Campus Eats is next on Big Ten Network.